Another witness at the state capture inquiry is rubbishing allegations of Jacob Zuma's involvement in the controversial Gupta family's Waterkloof Airbase landing. Today, the first witness was former Justice Director General Nonkululeko Sindane, followed by a then warrant officer at the base, Major Thabo Ntshisi. Our reporter Erin Bates is following proceedings. She joins us now in studio. So, Erin, of course, 4 witnesses sat down initially. Only 2 we heard from today. Let's start with the former DG.
Yes, we did have a third speaker in that for the first time we had a translator relaying information to Ntshisi, who wanted to have his mother tongue isiZulu be the language of communication. So that's new. But to Sindane earlier today, she obviously spoke about this task team that was set up in the wake of all of the controversy over Guptagate, as it became known. That landing of a private jet with over 200 guests going to a wedding at Sun City for Vega Gupta, the Gupta niece, at a National Air Force base. And she spoke about the investigations they did, the kind of interviews they did. Importantly, they didn't interview the then head of state. They spoke to the Secretary General or Director General in the presidency, and that's as far as they went. Let's have a look at some of the evidence from this morning.
We were referring to the use of the name of Minister Ben Martins as being okay with this, the use of the name of the Minister of Defense being okay with this, the use of number 1 knowing about this. People use ministers' names, DG's names a lot, and a lot of damage happens. And if this is not attended to, there were people who did something wrong because they genuinely believed that either number 1 was okay with this, either the ministers were okay with this. We felt if it's not addressed, it will continue, and ultimately we will be embarrassed as a country.
And then, of course, Ntshisi testified. What was his evidence about?
So this was all about how he was actually involved in the authorizing of the landing of that private jet at Waterkloof. Some toing and froing. He was, for example, cited in an inspection, and he claims that some of the quotes that were attributed to him about Bruce Kolowane, the then head of state protocol, were incorrect. And there was a lot of interrogation, I thought, from the chair on what exactly Ntshisi's version was in terms of whether or not he always thought the landing was dubious or whether he thought it was, but then he was persuaded otherwise by the likes of Kolowane. So some toing and froing, but here's just a snatch of his evidence from this afternoon.
Indaba esikuyo njenganamhlanje isicelo lesi sasuka kwi-embassy ye-India siza kithi.
According to the processes that we are in today, Your Worship, their request, Your Worship, came all the way from India, Your Worship, coming down to us, Your Worship.
The request you referred to was what request?
Isicelo lesi okhuluma ngaso noma request leyo ayani?
Isicelo isicelo sokuthi indiza izongena ilende izohlala eWaterkloof.
The request, Your Worship, that there was a flight that is coming, Your Worship, which is going to land at Waterkloof.
So it sounds as though, at the very least, the Guptagate scandal was a way of using the president's name in vain.
That's what we have at the moment from the evidence before the inquiry, and certainly what's also in that task team report from the 17th of May 2013. So very soon after that 30 April 2013 landing, this task team is activated. It does all of these investigations, and then it files that report on the 17th of May 2013. And you're right, we heard there Sindane talking about name dropping. It's something then Justice Minister Jeff Radebe also said. And what it does, if it doesn't show, and it certainly doesn't at this point show there was any endorsement on record from the then head of state, it shows just how much proximity the Guptas had, both perceived and in fact, that they could draw on the president's name. We know, for example, from the evidence of former Transport Minister Ben Martins yesterday, that on in February of 2013, he'd gone to a meeting at OR Tambo International Airport with Kolowane and with Rajesh Tony Gupta, along with the AXA acting CEO. And during that meeting, when Martin said, you can't land and having a wedding party, You can't have this big grand fiasco on the tarmac. Oh, Tambo's just too busy for that. Tony Gupta allegedly said, are you really going to deny the president's friends from having that on arrival in South Africa? So that just shows you the kind of confidence that someone like Tony Gupta had about his proximity to the then head of state. What is missing, of course, is any response from the president himself. Maybe he'll comment on it from the 15th when he testifies, and also that there's nothing on record from any of the ministers we've heard from to that effect.
Outstanding reporting as always. Erin Bates, thank you so much for that.